Before we go into our next poem, let's give you a little bit of history facts. Now, when was the Emancipation Proclamation, which was the bill to free the slaves, when was it signed? What year? By raise of hand. Okay. Somebody? She said 1816. You're close, a little bit close. You're in the century. You are in the century. But President Lincoln signed the Emancipation Proclamation in 1862. It was enforced and enacted in January the 1st of 1863. And so this was the bill that, of course, ended slavery. Now, we have both sides that are contending and arguing. Some people say, well, President Lincoln was a great president. He was a good man. He just didn't want to see people owning other people. And then you have the other side that says, well, we were in a war. The North was in a war with the South. And this was President Lincoln's way of handicapping the South, because the South mainly got its economic fuel and engine from slave labor, free slave labor. So that would handicap them and crush their economic engine if the slaves were freed. Either way it goes, either argument, slavery technically ended on a federal level in 1863, January the 1st. Now, what happened was there was a state in the United States called Texas, right? What's the nickname for Texas? The what? Lone Star Steak. And I love the steakhouse, the Lone Star Steakhouse, I'll tell you. I love the Lone Star Steakhouse. But anybody know why it was called the Lone Star Steak? Because Texas, other than any state in the United States of America, is independent of its contract to be a part of the United States. Texas could secede today without any type of blowback, feedback, or retribution. Now let's give a little bit of history on the state of Texas. State of Texas used to be its own country before it joined the United States of America. Now, we have a theme park in our state, right? It's called Great America. What's the nickname for Great America? Six Flags. The term Six Flags came from Texas, because after Texas was its own country, there were other nations that came in to try to take over Texas. So the first country that came in was the French, France. And so the Spaniards said, well, wait a minute. We don't know what's in Texas, but we're not going to just let the French come and have this country. We're going to go to war with them over this country and take this country from them. So then Spain took control over Texas. And then after that, Mexico was like, okay, well, we're going to have this war with Spain and we're going to take over Texas. So that was the third country, Mexico. So then the United States came in and was developing and forming its states together. So the United States said, well, you know what? Come on, become a part of our union, all of our resources and assets, like we do now with the United Nations. You have our power, our might, and everything. And so then Texas joined the United States. But Texas wasn't really satisfied. So it pulled out, and it says, we're going to become the Republic of Texas. And so they have Six Flags. They have France, Spain, Mexico, the Republic of Texas, and the United States, and the last flag is the Confederate flag. So what happened was during slavery and during the Civil War, they broke off and joined some other states, and they said, well, we're going to be the Confederate States. We're going to fight against the North. We're going to hold on to our way of living and our way of life. And so y'all looking like, man, I didn't know all of that, Black guys. But that's what this education is about. So Texas remained its own country from 1835 to 1845. It joined the United States in 1846. And again, Texas is the only state today that has the power to secede from the United States of America without any blowback or anything like that, right? So now, And that's why a lot of gun owners go and move to Texas as well, because they can keep those rights. So in 1863, when slavery was ended, Juneteenth, June 19th, on this very day, in 1865, which was 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation was enacted, about 2 years and 6 months after, the army came down to Galveston, Texas, and they said, well, wait a minute. Slavery was ended 2 years and 6 months ago. What are you all doing here? And they did not want to give up their slaves in Galveston, Texas, after the Emancipation Proclamation was signed. So they were forced by the government of the United States of America to free their slaves, and on June 19th, 1865, the last slaves in America known was freed. And so give it up for that, y'all. This is why we celebrate Juneteenth. This is why we celebrate Juneteenth. So what do we learn from this? What is the lesson that we learn from this, right? Because when the slaves were freed, they had nothing. They had no possessions. They had no land. The only thing that they had was the sky above them. And so when we think about the immigrants that are here today, that Governor Santos, I believe, sent from Florida up to Chicago, and they're sleeping on the floors of the police stations, and if you go downtown Chicago, they just have no place to go. They have nothing that they own. I want you to think about those slaves in 1865, who some of them even stayed in slavery. They said, well, we don't have anywhere to go. We're just going to stay here. They became what's called sharecroppers, which was the first jobs that the slave owners, the former slaves had, was sharecroppers. And so what do we want to take from this? What we want to take from this is, no matter what you are enduring in your life, no matter what obstacles that you are faced with in your life, no matter how despair your life seems, as long as you're moving, as long as you have faith, as long as you have hope, and as long as you keep going, there are doors that's going to open for you that you never even knew existed. And so I don't look back on slavery and frown on it. When I was a young person, I did. I was very angry when I was in my 16, 17-year-old, and Public Enemy was coming out talking about fight the power, and a lot of these rap groups, and we celebrating 50 years of hip hop. I had knowledge, but I didn't have wisdom at that time. Today I have wisdom. And we want the same things that we wanted centuries ago that we want today. We want everybody to treat everybody like the person that they are, regardless of what color, what ethnicity, where you are from, who you belong to, what is your class financially, what neighborhood you live in. We all want respect. We all want to be treated with dignity. We want the good education for our children. We want safe streets. We all want the same thing. And so let's give it up for each other, because we hear it in harmony and we hear it in love. Now,